So I want to talk a little bit about franchises. How many franchise owners are there out there? And let me start off before I even get going by letting you know that I own currently 2 different franchises, hair salons and a gym. And I have previously owned several other franchises like a landscaping company. Franchises are a great business. Franchises are a great way to open a pop-up business. And I always say if you're going to start a company, you either need to know what you're doing as far as starting a business, from marketing to branding to networking to social media to everything, or you go to a franchise and you open a franchise organization that is going to teach you the ropes. And what a franchise really is, guys, is like a pop-up book, okay? And if you follow the rule book, then at the end of the day, you should be at least somewhat successful. Problem is that I find so many people that have been in the franchise industry or owned a franchise for the last, say, year, 3 years, 5 years, in worst cases, as much as 15 years, and still aren't turning a profit. And I'm really speaking to the people right now who purchased a franchise, maybe 6 months, a year ago, 3 years, 5 years ago, and are sitting in a situation where they still aren't profitable. Now, I don't mean that they aren't successful, because the fact is that they're probably making money. The company is making money. They are growing as far as the company earning revenue. The problem is they themselves aren't putting money back in their pocket, okay? Where they are continuing to reinvest every dollar that they make that is profit into their business so that their business can continue to grow. Now, there is this bit of a struggle here, and franchisors, please excuse me and give me a minute to state my case. There is a bit of a struggle here, and where that struggle comes from is the person that sold you the franchise, or the franchisor, you're the franchisee, obviously, they make money off of royalties, right? That's how they make their profits. If I own a grocery store, I make money off of, my margins on food costs. If I own an airline, I make money off of my margins, after my cost of goods sold. By the profits on every airline ticket that I sell, and the different services that I sell, and the upgrades that I sell. And as a franchise owner or franchisor selling a franchise to a franchisee, I make my money off of every gross dollar that you make. So if your royalties are 5%, for example, or in some cases as much as 9% or more, and you make $100, then obviously the franchisor gets $5. You make $10,000, then they're going to get $500. You make $1 million, then they're going to get $50,000. So the higher your gross profits, the more money that they are going to make. And as a franchise consultant or as a franchisor, my goal is to see your gross sales go up. So I may be in an industry where I tell everybody you need to be $1 million company, okay? That means I'm making $50,000 as a franchisor on every single franchise that I sell after their franchise fees. That's the other way that obviously franchises make money, is by selling franchises. But their ongoing revenue, their reoccurring revenue, their residual income comes from your gross sales. Now think about something. Not that they don't care about you making money, because they want you to be successful. No franchisor wants to see a franchisee's door close or their name come off of a building or a business that's out there in the community. That doesn't look good. But at the same time, they're not focused on your net revenue. Okay, your net revenue is what you get to keep, what goes into your pocket, your after-tax net revenue that you get to take home, and the money that you get to make. Their main focus and their goal and their job, especially as franchise coordinators, is to see your franchise grow in gross sales. That's what you're rewarded for. That's what it's based on. That's how you make all the clubs and win all the accolades, is based on your gross sales. You don't ever see a reward for net sales or how much income a person generates by owning a franchise. Now, this is the big disconnect, and this is why it is important for you as the franchisee to start focusing on your net income as opposed to your gross sales. Every franchise owner I talk to, I take that back, I should say the majority of franchise owners that I talk to are concerned about meeting those gross numbers. I want to see my business be $1 million business. I want to see my business grow by 20% a year. And that's great. But I talk to too many franchise owners whose business is growing by leaps and bounds, at a gross level, but they aren't putting anything, I mean literally any money, into their pocket. They're continuing to focus on how that company is going to make more money, how their franchise is going to produce more gross sales. And they are not focusing on what it is going to take for them to make more money themselves. And sometimes as a business, and this may sound crazy and I know it, you need to shrink to grow. And I actually do a session on this, okay? You may be doing $1 million in gross sales and putting $0 in your pocket. Maybe you could do $700,000 in gross sales, lose that 30% of your non-profitable business, okay? And actually put $100,000 in income in your pocket. Now, again, let me repeat that. Instead of doing $1 million a year in gross sales, maybe you do $700,000 a year in gross sales, shrink to grow, in order to put $100,000 in revenue in your pocket. How does that happen? How is that possible? How could you possibly do that? Well, it's very simple. Because again, when I go into franchises time after time, I see these clients that they took on when they were young or new that are not profitable. Clients that they thought were going to be profitable, big high dollar clients. Maybe they're commercial clients and your focus is really individual clients or residential clients. And they take on these big clients because they see big dollar signs, but the client isn't profitable. They're either breaking even, or the fact is once they pay royalties, once they pay payroll taxes, once they pay sales taxes, they're actually losing money. Okay? You have to look at your book. You have to look at what you have. You have to look at your equipment. You have to look at your staff. You have to look at your layers of management. And you have to decide, are these high dollar clients that I'm losing money on worth keeping? And the answer is no. Okay, you don't need to think about that. So sometimes you need to shrink in order to grow. As a business, instead of focusing on gross sales, unless you are a 100% commission-based company, somebody is paying you commissions like an insurance agent based on your sales, then you need to focus on net after-tax bottom line profits. That needs to be your focus. How much money is going into your pocket? So ask the question again, how many of you bought a franchise that was a non-for-profit organization? And nobody's raising their hand right now. How many of you got into business to be a non-for-profit? If you bought a franchise, you got into business for yourself because you wanted to be self-employed. You wanted to have flexibility and freedom in your life to spend time with family, to travel, to do the things you wanted to do. You wanted to work on your business instead of working for your business, and you wanted financial independence. You wanted the ability to make as much money as you wanted to make, the sky to be the limit. And the fact is that a lot of you are sitting there right now working 80 hours a week, working in the field for your business instead of on your business. And a lot of you are investing every dollar back into your company that you're making. And you're not putting anything or very little in your pocket, which is the exact opposite of the reason that you got into business. That's the definition of a non-for-profit, okay? Helping others without making a profit for yourself. And even non-for-profits do make money so that they can support themselves and pay salaries to their executive directors, employees, and continue to operate, okay? So you're not even running a non-for-profit right now, okay? What you're doing is running a losing business or a break-even business. And unless you make a change, nothing whatsoever is going to change at all. Okay? Unless you make a change in the way you're running that business, nothing is going to change as far as your ability to make a living and to succeed. So the key is, as a franchise owner, you need to have an independent party. If you can't do it yourself, and there's nothing wrong if you can't, if you're sitting here again a year out, 2 years out, 3 years out, 5 years out, and you're still in the same situation, it's time to have a conversation with somebody. It's time to have a conversation with somebody like me, to sit down and look at your business from the outside and say, okay, what are we doing wrong and how can we be profitable? And maybe you're not doing anything wrong. Maybe the fact is there's some simple changes that you can make to be profitable. And the first step is putting yourself on payroll and making a paycheck. And that sounds impossible, but once you do it, you find a way to make it work. Think about it. You find a way to make payroll every week, no matter what, even if you have to come out of pocket from the day you open that franchise. The one thing that you don't do is miss payroll because your employees aren't going to come back to work. So if we can show you how to simply start by putting a paycheck in your pocket, that is step number one. But the key is analyzing your franchise, finding out where you're losing money, finding out where those losing clients are, and finding out if you can shrink to grow or if you can make some simple changes that will make you profitable. So if you are running a franchise, if you own a franchise, if you're a franchisee, and you're in that situation where you've been around for a little while and you're not being profitable, and you're looking at other franchises saying, why are they profitable? The fact is, in your industry, with the organization that you are part of, that you own a franchise, about 20 to 30%, sometimes it's as low as 10%, of the franchise owners are actually profitable, are getting rich, are making money. You need to find out what those people are doing. And the fact is, I can show you what you need to do in order to be successful. But it does take change, and you've got to be willing to make that phone call.